Jennifer from Belladonna's Botanicals, and today I'm just going to talk to you about a lot of the interactions I've had with the spirit world and messages that I've channeled over the past weeks, maybe the past month. I don't know. I'm looking at my notes. But anyways, sorry for the explanation for the hat. I don't normally wear a hat inside. I'm getting my hair done next week. My roots are a hella hot mess, so enjoy my eccentric fashion choices for this video. Anyways, so without further ado, I started finding like spirit world has been wild lately, and I've been talking to a lot of different people about this because I was like, hey guys, what's going on out there? Because shit's been really wild lately. So I'm just going to kind of start going through some of the messages and just to kind of bring forth like one of the things that's been coming through very heavily through the random spirits that have been coming through to me is this message of unity as all as one as all. So it's kind of what I'm getting the feeling from these different spirits and God forms that are coming through is a message of how that it's all interrelated. We just have different faces, names, practices, traditions around that, but it's all interconnected. Every religion, spirituality, pantheon, God form, goddess, etc. down the road. So, anyways, without further ado, these are the recent messages I've gotten. This first one I found on the notes function on my phone. I'm good at I get things in the downloads in the middle of the night, and I put them in whatever the nearest form of open communication I've opened. Sometimes, usually they end up somewhere on my phone. Occasional Facebook posts, messages to friends in the middle of the night. So there's that. Before I get into it, I did recently, like a couple days ago, go back through all my channeled messages that I have videos for that'll be in this playlist from like the beginning of 2023, I think. And I didn't really see it at the time, but it's starting to tell a story. And that comes into play later in some of the messages I've gotten. So this first one I wrote down, I have no idea what the context was. I don't know where it came from. It just starts with, the Romanovs. Who is the Rasputin this time? How does it end? In a sub-basement like the Imperial Palace, bullets dance a catastrophic ballet. Ashes to ashes, we all fall down. Let this be a message to future generations that some things come at too high of a price. That was all. The next message, I don't know where this came from, or when. It was sometime within the past few weeks, and it starts with, and again, sometimes I get downloads from things and I don't really even know who they're coming from. Sometimes it's very specific. Like I got some today from Lilith, which I will share. Or is this? No, this is related though, I think, to what Lilith said today. The past is prologue. We can fight the wars of yesterday for generations to come and yield no progress. Only cannon fodder for the death machine. Blood is the life and blood is the death. The equilibrium maintains the balance so that we can flourish beyond the spiraling abyssal chaos. We cannot change that which has come to pass. The present is the future in malleable form, taking shape based upon an incalculable array of factors and yet random chance. Where you stand is where you fall is where you rise. What have you learned? Will you still fight the wars of yesterday, or will you learn, heal, and move forward instead of cement-laden inertia? Do we move past the maelstrom of decay and rebuild, renew, and reject holding on to things that cannot change? Does the center hold without form and structure? There is the shadow war, the collective shadow consuming us all. Also, just interject, I've been watching a lot of Babylon 5 lately. Um, so okay, so I'm gonna take a pause before going to the next one, since I made that reference there, Babylon 5. One of the things, and I say this repeatedly, because a lot of times people come to me like, I can't hear spirits, or I can't, that a lot of times for me, like, I don't literally hear a booming voice in the room being like, will you still fight the wars of yesterday? It's just like something comes through me. But a lot of times, and this is the way I describe it, is the spirit world works with you based on your visual frame of reference and your lived experiences. And that can include anything. That can be like a television show, a movie, a book, a film, a piece of art, anything. So what I find sometimes is that, hi, ADHD, neurodivergent as fuck. Sometimes it's noisy up in my brain, so they'll push something through. Like, I'll have a sudden urge to go to a particular place or watch a particular thing for absolutely no reason. Or I'll ask a question and they give me like a scene from something. So, I think if you watched the recent video I did a couple weeks ago on the Reiki journey, this is where it started. Like, I am getting so many different spirits coming through, like even ones I don't work with at all. And like, I did the one, so I have 3 new Reiki guides. And in that particular working, I had the Buddha, Ganesha, the Kuan Yin, and Amaterasu come through, none of which are god forms that I work with. I'm not even sure what, like, I mean, I know Buddha is Buddhism, Ganesha's in the Hinduism spectrum. Kuan Yin and Amaterasu, I'm not sure. Like, I think maybe Shintoism, but I don't know. So that was that part. I just want to kind of add that in there, even though I have a separate video on it. So this was taken from a series, apparently, of messages I sent to a colleague in the middle of like late night. I was like, Lucifer was whispering in my ear this morning. Try to get back into ascension mode, like astral travel, deep meditation, channeling, that sort of thing. And then I was greeted by Lilith, Osiris, and Allah, like Allah of Islam. It's a very interesting combination of god forms to have just show up randomly. The Allah part was wild. We chatted a little bit, and I showed great respect. I was like, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah. I think I said it 3 times, maybe. Then I found myself through Allah. I don't really remember what the specifically of what we talked about, but again, it was still of that message of all is one is all, and that kind of looking for unity or something. I'm not entirely sure. But I very quickly found myself catapulted to the Jinn realm, in which point the 12 Jinn pushed me through the process of opening all 12 gates of the Nectameron, which I kind of stalled on at gate 2. They're like, you could do the physical part of it. We're just pushing you through this right now. There's a lot of, and I've talked to other people, and there's a lot of spiritual, they're like, nope, they're just like, bam, zoom, you're doing a month's worth of work in like 20 seconds. That kind of thing. They're like pushing you through. Because the Nectameron path working, I do have the videos for the first 2. It is different. There's a lot of different aspects to it, but basically the whole premise of it is to bring, take this as you will, the light of God or the light of universe into yourself and into your practice. They found the need to accelerate me through all 12 gates at that time. They're like, you'll figure, they're like, just get to it when you get to it in the physical realm of opening the gates. But so they had me at the center, because the gates were in a circle. Each was illuminated by a different color of iridescent flames. I'll also link the Nectameron playlist below for this, if I remember. So the gates were in the circle. So like I was in the center of the circle. So each Jinn of the gate was like kind of formed around me. And I stood in the white light of the universe while they began placing stones in a circle around me. It's not the first time I've had that happen. I had that happen in a like a shamanic soul retrieval before. Um, I get a lot of weird, like a lot of like spontaneous spiritual initiations and things like that. But that's a story for another day. Um, or maybe later. Who knows? ADHD wild card. Anyhow. So I just had to be there in the center of the circle, in the center of this white light, experiencing things like memories, emotions, songs, etc. And that seems to be in my experience. This has been my first time. I only started working with the Jinn this year for this particular thing. And they seem to really like to experience things through us. It's not like, oh, go listen to that song over there. It's like, listen to the song within your heart and mind. Think of the song, think of every word, feel the music, feel the memory and everything. Like they like to experience that kind of thing. It's very different. Like I've not encountered that as much with other spirits I've worked with. And okay. Sorry. I just worried for a second that I completely forgot to hit the record button because that would be on point for the day I'm having. So at this point, all of the Jinn sort of formed a perfect. While I'm in the center in that light, they did this processional that formed a Fibonacci sequence, which is sort of that like nautilus shape, with these bioluminescent energy trail footprints around me. So that was kind of where that part ended. It was really, really cool. Unexpected because I went to work with Lilith. Because she's really been pushing through very, very hard again. But like the spirit world's been, like as I mentioned, has been giving me weird flashes of things as answers to questions or prophecy. I have no clue. But like one of the ones with I think it was with Lilith, she showed me that's something I'm working on, trying to figure out like how to. It's just talking about well, when I said the acceleration process, it was the acceleration process of this like hitting the spiritual awakening critical mass of getting all the potentials activated. And what she showed me in this was what she flashed me to was, sorry, spoiler alert for anything that relates to pop culture stuff. But she took me to I believe it was the series finale from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where Willow activates all of the potential slayers, since in every generation there can only be one, through magic. So it's actually, I'm like, well, how am I supposed to do that? Still figuring it out. So yeah, so what else did I have here? Lucifer wants me to have him manifest physically for some reason. I haven't gotten through that part yet, and I'm not entirely sure. I think that was what I was trying to do, but I guess I needed to blast my ass through the Nick Cameron gate opening first. So now comes the really holy what the fucking like, oh my, what part of it? Like it took me consulting with 2 or 3 other colleagues to figure this one out. I've been doing a lot of intense ritual work. I'll just leave it at that. And as part of the ritual, and then after it, I had done one of my ketamine treatments, which was neither here nor there. Nothing really kind of came through at that point. But it was in that it opened a window between then and when I was like, all right, well, I'm taking my nighttime gummy to fall asleep. So within that sort of psychedelic portal, it's like it opened a window that I was able to peek through. And I became aware, I didn't know how to describe it at the time, but I came aware of the spirit that was like an observer spirit. It wasn't malicious. It wasn't doing anything nefarious. It wasn't something that was sent to do anything to me or against me or whatever. It wasn't part of like the higher self construct. It wasn't a spirit guide, but it's like it was something that I got the sense of it, that it was something that was watching through me, observing. This is gonna sound really stupid, but like literally, I got the sense of, like Santa Claus making the list of who's been naughty and who's been nice. Um, but I had this weird sense of like, because I messaged one of my friends, I was like, I just had this weird like, this is like some kind of like spiritual MK Ultra, sleeper cell kind of thing going on. And yeah, I had walked through it with a couple different people to try to figure out what the spirit was. And I had my friend who does a lot of my clearings and stuff for me, and she picked up on the spirit right away. And she's like described it as neither, it was kind of demonic, but also kind of angelic. And that it was a beautiful woman with long black hair, really, really long black hair, and gray robes. And she had white glass wings, I think, with like black lattice work, like ornate designs within them. That was the description. But she said the name was like Zyla or Zilla. She gave me a couple different spellings on it. So I was like, well, I haven't heard anything of like this name. It's not like, oh, you've got Lilith watching through you. No, it was something different. Something very different. So after a whole lot of like, searching through, trying to figure out what this is, because sometimes it's hard to figure out, like when someone tells you a name, and especially if it's not something overly familiar, like how do you spell that? So what I came up and found, and this is not really my my area of expertise, but well, first of all, the meaning of the name Zyla, which comes from Hebrew, can mean the primary means it came up with like either shadow or shadow of God, but it can also mean deep darkness, something that's veiled, protected. But that's what the name is. Met means like on a, that kind of thing. Zyla is one of the very few, or actually maybe one of the first females mentioned in I think in the Old Testament. Zyla is one of the wives of Lamech, who is a descendant from Cain. She is the mother of Tubal-Cain and his sister Naamah. Yeah, that's where I was at. Like, do what now? So just from a little bit of me kind of bouncing around, trying to find information about her, about the strikes. It's not an area I'm really familiar with, and I've never worked with Tubal-Cain. Nama, kind of have a candle on her altar. But so I'm just looking on this one website of what it says. It's a very great, dense obscurity of thought that exists in the soul of an individual who is still living wholly in the outer or sense consciousness, deep darkness, slash the shadow aspect, wife of Lamech, of the bloodline of Cain. So what's interesting is that she seemed to be observing through me for some reason. And I think she has been for a very long time, because I came out of this with like, okay, so again, I'm going to throw in a pop cultural reference here. I'm a huge Supernatural fan. So again, spoiler alert. So I think it's season 9. Sam had been grievously injured during the trials, which was around the fall of the angels again. And at the time, Dean allows him to be possessed by Ezekiel, except it's not actually Ezekiel. It turns out to be Gadriel, who's working for Metatron, who's a total dick. Anyways, but Sam is Sam, or so we think throughout the whole thing, but really Sam's walking around as Sam, but he's got Gadriel within him. And he eventually they try to drive him out, but it's really that Gadriel was playing the part of Sam that whole time, watching, observing, kind of doing that thing. And I got that very sense of, I played the part well, didn't I? Watching, observing, not realizing it either. Because it was something that I had to crack that window open with a shit ton of ketamine and THC to access it. So it was wild, but it was very. I'm not entirely sure what to make of it. It doesn't feel like a spirit possession. It doesn't feel like an incarnate aspect of myself or something like that, or a past life type thing. It's different. It's very different. And it's kind of like what I realized in that is with that observer aspect of watching and waiting kind of thing, taking notes of who's been naughty and who's been nice. I started to realize that in the past 4 years, I aligned myself with people I never would have given the time of day to. Like I am a very private person. I tend to be like, I'm about quality of humans, not quantity of humans. I've always been that way. But like I found I start making allowances for people who did not align with me on any particular level. Like people I would have just looked down my nose at and went and walked away. And have since walked away from. I got sort of that feeling like that part. I'm not sure. It's still unfolding. Like I feel like that part of the mission is over. Like, but I don't know that I think she might still be there. Because I did go in and try to like open up and make contact again. And the only thing I really got out, I'm trying to think of what she was telling me. I unfortunately didn't write down anywhere, but like, so if you watch some of my stuff, I've talked about the story of Imam Ayel, which was the figure of, an incarnate aspect of a spirit that's within me or something. But she's like Imam Ayel, Namam Ayel. And that's all she kind of said. So have more work to do. And a million other things, but that was kind of like really, really freaking weird. Cause like, yeah, I got nothing. And then let's see. And then today, my first message I got, this is a message of unknown origin. I just wrote in parentheses of the enemy. You have no soul, no love, nothing. You are nothing, you are no one, and in the eyes of God, you are alone and abandoned. God has forsaken you. Jesus wept at the hatred that came out of his messages of love and peace. It's probably in reference to like the Christo-fascism types. So that was the first one. And then Lilith started to come through. So what I have from Lilith today was, what is to come has come to pass. Those that are truly left behind have been left behind. Meanings misinterpreted, abandoned by God, denied by Christ. They twist and turn into the maelstrom of chaos and hate and destruction. They have no connection to spirit anymore. Cast shadows flitter into the night to fade like a distant star going supernova. Their fate has been chosen, is chosen. They chose it themselves. And they hate us because we know God. We know spirit, we have hope, we have a future. They do not and are fighting to end their pain and suffering. They are a lost people. Some stand on the precipice. Can we catch them before falling? Can we catch them mid-fall? Some things lie under that which is unknown. They have left themselves behind and cannot see why, and hate and blame anyone in order to get back to God. Forsaken they are. It is done. End transmission. I find I get that sometimes from spirits when they channel, like they will be like end transmission, like it's sort of like they'll give me a cue at which point they are done. So that's what I had for today. I'm sure, like, and I've talked to other people. The spirit world has been freaking wild. God, I haven't even brought in my guardian angel Agiel. That's been a whole ass thing too. Apparently, have a very weird guardian angel. Are we not shocked? Anyways, I may do a separate thing on that at some point. But yeah, I've got the FAFO of angels apparently, and the one responsible for making people think they've been kidnapped by aliens. I think he looks kind of alienish. I always find it funny when people like talk, oh, little fluffy angels and stuff. I'm like, you know what biblically accurate angels look like, guys? Because I do. Anyways, so I'll keep bringing through the messages that I get. I may make a full story video at some time that pulls in all these messages that I've been getting for like the past year and a half, because when I started looking at them, they tell a story. Like the with Lilith and the activation thing. I think I went back in recently to contact her. She's like, I've given you this information already. It's in all the stuff you've channeled. And well, lo and behold, guess what? It's there. So, anywho, thank you for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Algorithms suck. You know what to do. Love y'all. Bye.